Jamie. So we've been very dynamic this morning. So well, thank you to all our organisers for working around the dynamic schedule of the Minister. So Minister Christopher Pyne, so welcome here to Syndicate. This is a newly, freshly branded event. Previously, we used to call this Partnerships Week, and when I told the Minister about it, and I asked him would he be kind enough to open the conference for us, the event for us this year, he said, "Alex, we've got to change that name. It doesn't convey what we really want to do, which is about syndicating partnerships and relationships between science, industry and academia." So under his inspiration, we've rebranded our event, but it's also a 4-year journey for us. 4 years ago when we started reaching out to industry, and that was very much in time with the 2016 white paper, which was really transformational for this Department of Defence and for the Australian government. Very big policies to shift, and it was very much an outwardly looking element, and that was part of our job to step up. So 4 years ago when we ran the first event, we had probably about 350, 400 people over 2 days. At this event this year, we've got over 1,200 people over the 2 days, and a lot of spillover out of this room into various parts of the site. So, and I have to really say a lot of that is due not because of just our good efforts, but really because we have a government program that really driving defence industry innovation. And a lot of that, I can personally tell you, can be attributed to the Minister in his previous role as Defence Industry Minister. And he's really shown fantastic leadership in getting innovation accepted, and the fact that we're going to develop capabilities within Australia driven by Australian innovation. Tremendous. And I can tell you, being in Canberra, there's a lot of people who thought that this isn't a right thing to do. There's ways it could be done differently, but it really required strong leadership, single-minded purpose, and I've really admired the Minister how he's done that. So it's been an interesting last week. He's now changed jobs. He has got the broader portfolio of defence now, but he still, when I asked him, would he still be willing to open Syndicate, and he said, of course. And thank you very much for working around your very, very busy schedule, and thank you so much for your leadership, Minister, because without it, I don't think we would be here today. So, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alex, and it is a great pleasure to be here today at Syndicate, an event which brings together our defence scientists, academia, the defence industry. Before I open the conference, I would like to say what a tremendous relationship that I've had in the last 2 years with Alex Zielinski as the Chief Defence Scientist. As I'm sure you all know, he is going on to become the Vice-Chancellor of Newcastle University, and he's done a marvellous job in the last 7+ years as the Chief Defence Scientist. It's a very important job within our defence firmament, because the ADF, the Department of Defence, relies on the good work of the Defence and Science and Technology Group to do what they've done over now 70+ years. They're one of the really amazing stars of our defence structure across Australia, not one that's been talked about enough over the years. We've talked about it a lot more the last 2 years, and Alex Zielinski has driven a lot of the change in the organisation, bringing it closer to defence industry, trying to commercialise many of its operations and its outcomes, and of course has husbanded the Next Generation Technology Fund, the $730 million of support the government created in the defence industry policy statement for the research part of research and development. The work that's been done in innovation and science and technology in support of defence capability is something that we haven't spoken about enough in Australia. In 2016, when the Defence White Paper was released, we outlined 2 basic principles: that industry was a fundamental input to capability, and science and technology were key enablers in achieving a capability edge. Bringing these 2 elements together was vital. Defence needs to be future ready. Australia must mobilise its scientific expertise as well as its industrial capabilities to provide for the security of the nation, but also contribute to the prosperity of the people. The government has positioned defence at the front and centre of this transformational vision to drive innovation in Australia. We committed $200 billion over 10 years, representing 2% of GDP every year from 2020 onwards, to invest in defence capabilities of the future. It's the largest build-up of our military capability in our peacetime history. The scale and size of this investment has never been attempted before in Australia. We have to think of the air superiority that will be provided by the 5th generation Joint Strike Fighters, the Super Hornets, Growlers and the Wedgetail early warning system, combined with the Triton long endurance, eye in the sky and the P-8 Poseidon's maritime patrol aircraft. Our maritime defences will be bolstered by 12 new submarines, 9 anti-submarine warfare frigates, and of course the 3 air warfare destroyers that have now been finished at Osborne. Our land forces will be deployed in a modern fleet with new combat reconnaissance vehicles and infantry fighting vehicles built here in Australia. These new frontline capabilities will require extensive science, technology and engineering support well into the future. The government anticipated this requirement and proactively put in place a single innovation pipeline for defence capability that is closely aligned with our strategic goals and maximises the value of government investment. This will form part of the government's long-term strategy to create a sustainable and sovereign Australian industry that is positioned to support defence capability and is internationally competitive. The government's hard at work realising this ambitious but achievable vision. The Naval Shipbuilding Plan is more than a project to build ships and submarines in Australia. It is a nation-building program that will see the maritime workforce grow to more than 5,000 workers by the mid to late 2020s, with another 15,000 workers engaged in sustainment and supply chain activities just at Osborne alone. The plan is designed to ensure we have a viable shipbuilding industry in the future, with the skills required to support Australia's naval platforms. We also want Australian defence equipment to compete successfully in the global market, and so we developed the Defence Export Strategy and established a new Defence Export Office and a Defence Exports Advocate in David Johnston, one of my predecessors as Minister for Defence. Through these initiatives, the government is supporting Australian industry to improve the performance of its defence exports and achieve better export outcomes. We all know that we have cutting-edge technologies we can export to our overseas allies. You'll all be familiar with the Nolka anti-ship missile decoy developed by our defence scientists. It's our most successful defence export to date. We need more Nolka-type outcomes to succeed in the defence export market, and we'll have them. Recently, I released the Defence Industrial Capability Plan. It's the first time that the Australian government has articulated a vision for our defence industry, a strong and sustainable defence industry that's absolutely critical in supporting the ADF to carry out its mission successfully. The government is determined to facilitate the growth of the entire industry sector to become defence ready. We're seeing more and more companies investing in Australia, developing our sovereign capability and deepening our industrial base. In a mark of confidence in Australia's defence industry, I'm pleased to announce today that Leonardo will partner with the Commonwealth to establish a transmission repair and overhaul facility for our Taipan helicopters right here at Fisherman's Bend. This will mean that instead of going all the way back to Italy for maintenance, helicopter transmissions for our aircraft and those of New Zealand can be maintained right here at Fisherman's Bend, employing 15 new technical staff and 25 more staff indirectly. These are important milestones in our growing defence industry. And of course, there's more to come. We're taking other steps to support industry, which include a defence industry skilling and STEM strategy to grow the defence industry workforce and skills base that will be released in the third quarter of this year. A defence industry participation policy with a consistent framework for involving defence industry in defence procurements valued at $4 million and above. And a defence industry security program to expand access and services to companies in Australia seeking to work with defence. To take advantage of the opportunities offered in the Defence White Paper, industry needs to step up and build capacity and capability over the next 10 years, and may I say they are. There are unprecedented opportunities for Australian industry involvement and for Australian jobs growth in the Defence Industrial Capability Plan. The focus of the Defence Industrial Capability Plan is also on enhancing our sovereign industrial capabilities. These are the capabilities that we need in Australia to protect our national security. 10 initial sovereign industrial capability priorities have been identified as they are operationally critical to the Defence mission in the next 3 to 5 year timeframe. They range from capabilities in electronic warfare, cyber and information security, to surveillance, combat clothing enhancements, air platform maintenance and land combat technology upgrades, as well as, of course, the sustainment and maintenance of our submarines. These initial priorities cut across the 6 capability streams identified in the Integrated Investment Program in the Defence White Paper. We'll release industrial strategies for each of these 6 streams from the middle of next year, outlining the short-term and longer-term objectives to be achieved. The government will also put in place a grants program of up to $17 million to support companies that contribute to a sovereign industrial capability priority. To grow the robust, globally competitive Australian defence industry of the future requires deep collaboration between defence, industry and academia. We've also introduced a new defence innovation system to ensure this 3-way collaboration. The signature programs under the innovation system are the Defence Innovation Hub, managed by the Centre for Defence Industry Capability, both created out of the Defence Industry Policy Statement a couple of years ago, and the Next Generation Technologies Fund, which I've already mentioned. Both of these 2 programs are actively encouraging collaboration across industry and research organisations to deliver innovative solutions for the defence capability. A new force design process ensures that investment priorities are coherent across the defence innovation system and are aligned with our defence strategy. In the first year of operation, 1,100 proposals were received for the various defence innovation programs. 1,100 proposals. More than $80 million worth of innovation contracts have been signed during this period. The market has responded really well to this transparency and clarity on the government's priorities. In the last financial year, 88% of all the proposals the Hub received were aligned with Defence's top 3 innovation priority capability streams. And as well as this, 76% of contracts were awarded to small and medium enterprises. Even more promising was the fact that 10% of Innovation Hub partners were doing business with Defence for the very first time. These results are revealing and they're encouraging. They show that our innovation system is working and it's helping to discover new sources of innovative talent, especially from the small and medium enterprise sector. This pattern is repeated with programs under the Next Generation Technology Fund. Australian SMEs have never had a better opportunity to contribute to defence innovation. They've often faced barriers in trying to access government funds to further develop their early stage research, which could enable them to participate in bigger collaboration programs. This defence innovation system has given them a new option and they've voted with their feet. SMEs like Defentex, Myriota and Tectonica are now working with defence primes and universities on projects for the Next Generation Technologies Fund. The defence industry leaders are recognising that collaborating with SMEs provides them with a competitive advantage. The Next Generation Technologies Fund has set aside $10 million for the Small Business Innovation Research Program, aimed specifically at SMEs. This is one of Alex's favourite programs, the S-Bird program. I saw a great demonstration a few weeks ago of how well the Defence Innovation System was delivering results when I visited Silentium Defence, a start-up based in Adelaide with a particular space attitude. 2 defence scientists who had developed an innovative form of passive radar technology went through an accelerated program and were able to spin off a company in radar technologies for which they subsequently received funding from the Defence Innovation Hub to diversify into commercial markets. This spin-off is the first in a long line for defence, and it has an outcome for the Defence Innovation System. Defence benefits when its in-house innovations are licensed to industry. Increasingly, SMEs are stepping up to commercialise defence innovations, having also assisted in the development process. Two recent examples I want to talk about are the Adelaide-based SME Concilium technology, which has enhanced DST's visualisation simulation software for defence applications and is marketing it under the brand name Infinite Studio for commercial markets, and a Sydney-based SME called Clearbox Systems, which will commercialise the Cortex military satellite communications monitoring and control system designed by the DST, and this system was developed to provide an enhanced situational awareness of Defence's satellite networks. Later this morning, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be shown an innovative flight instrumentation kit, which has transitioned to capability. It's called NIFTY, which is a catchy name for the non-intrusive flight test instrumentation. It's compact and wireless, which means flight tests can be carried out without time-consuming aircraft modifications, potentially saving months and months of time. NIFTY has been developed by the DST and the Air Warfare Centre, with the hardware and software development delivered by a Melbourne SME called Defence Innovations. The Royal Australian Air Force will take delivery of the novel instrumentation kit today. The Next Generation Technologies Fund, led by DST, is setting new benchmarks for the delivery of research and innovation. It has a portfolio of 7 program elements, each with a different form for engaging and collaborating with external partners, and driven, may I say, by Alex Zielinski throughout the last 7 years. The Grand Challenges program, one of the largest in the portfolio, is a first for Defence and Australia. It throws down the gauntlet to the wider research community to find solutions to problems currently sitting in Defence's too hard basket. This approach lived up to its expectations when proposals were sought for the first Grand Challenge to counter improvised threats. The response was overwhelming, the largest number of submissions ever received for a defence research proposal, with a response from 75 companies and 23 universities. As expected, many of the proposals, 36%, came from researchers new to defence collaboration, but eager to take on the challenge. It underscores the fact that for a grand challenge to be successful, the solution must come from a variety of sources, bringing together a diversity of expertise in multiple disciplines. The Australian Research Council College of Experts recently said that the Grand Challenges program will prove to be one of the most important research funding initiatives in Australia in the last 30 years. Defence expects to facilitate 2 to 3 more Grand Challenges over the coming decade. A core condition of participating in the Next Generation Technologies Fund is for industry, academia and research agencies to collaborate as genuine partners on future technologies of interest to Defence, not as contractors. The objective is to tap into the widest possible brains trust in Australia to find solutions for defence capability. This objective is being achieved with new forms of collaboration emerging as a result. For example, governments in 3 states are supporting their universities to pool their resources and form intrastate academic research networks that can jointly address defence projects. The Defence Innovation Partnership in South Australia, the Defence Innovation Network in New South Wales and the Defence Science Institute here in Victoria are providing a critical mass for defence research never seen before. In another first, 4 Australian universities are teaming with their American counterparts under the US Defence Department's multidisciplinary University Research Initiative, otherwise called MURI, to work on future technology projects. They are the University of Sydney, the University of New South Wales, Griffith University and the University of Technology in Sydney. MURI is a highly competitive program, so the success of our universities is a recognition of their world-class academic expertise in these areas. Their participation is being facilitated with funding from the Next Generation Technologies Fund. Last year I announced the formation of the first Defence Research Cooperative Centre for Trusted Autonomous Systems, known as the Defence CRC. Defence does need to be on top of quickly emerging technologies, such as autonomous systems, which both offer opportunities and threats. In terms of research to nail down the various aspects of autonomous technologies, this is a huge undertaking, and not surprisingly, it has attracted extensive interest from primes, SMEs, and research and university agencies. So I would like to thank Jim McDowell, who I don't know if he's here today, who's been the chair of the Defence CRC for Trusted Autonomous Systems since its inception and got it started, for his excellent leadership in establishing the centre. Our loss is the South Australian Government's gain, because Jim will be leaving the Defence CRC to be the head of the Premier's Department in South Australia, and I wish him well. But I am pleased to welcome Hugh Darrant-White as the new chair of the Defence CRC. Many of you would know Hugh Darrant-White. He has an impressive record as a pioneer in robotics, and will be a tremendous asset to the Defence CRC for Trusted Autonomous Systems. He's had a hiatus in the UK working for their government, but he's come back home where he belongs. Defence is investing $50 million over 7 years in this Defence CRC, which is now operating as a limited liability company. And that funding was matched by the Queensland Government. It's an unmistakable sign that defence innovation is a truly national enterprise. It's inspiring companies, universities, research organisations, even state governments to invest in defence capability to help build a secure future for our nation. Today you will see how that future is being shaped by talking to our defence scientists at work both today and tomorrow. I'm looking forward to you being part of that future by partnering with DST and making your innovation contributions to our defence capability. And can I thank you all for the support you've given me as the Minister for Defence Industry over the last 2 years, the first Minister for Defence Industry. I think we've achieved a tremendous amount together, but I can tell you I've done so much in that space that I have no intention of letting it go completely, and I will have overall responsibility for the portfolio, so I'll always be able to reach back and have a look at any of the projects, decisions and so forth that we've been making, and I intend to keep overall responsibility for the defence industry because we've done so much, we can't let any of it slip away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. That was a tremendous talk, a marvellous talk. You can see that the policy, the plans that have been in place that the Minister could speak about continuously there for quite a number of his about his achievements, and it's just not he's not just a man with a plan, but he's a man who's executing on a big, ambitious plan for Australia, and we're so pleased that defence science can be part of it, but we can't do it without partnership with an industry and academia. So, and it was just tremendous to see that he had announcements to make, and we've got to do a little bit of a tour in a moment for you to see some of those elements that you announced. But as a small memento today, I'd just like to give you a syndicate memento, so to say thank you so much, and thank you for your support, and we wish you well as the new Minister for Defence.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.